How dangerous are steroids? Now, you might hear that people always say, you're killing yourself doing this. They're so dangerous. Why would you take the risk? Why would you put that poison in your system? And I look at them and I think, yes, you are actually right. Yes, they are dangerous. But how dangerous are they? Is steroids as bad as drinking alcohol? I saw someone use that reference the other day. Someone said, oh, he's a steroid and he is alcohol. And people are always saying it's okay to drink alcohol, but it's really bad to do steroids. And what are the dangers of it? Well, allow me to explain. Now, this is extreme circumstance, extreme situation, because we all know if we take low dose of a group of drugs that are called steroids, then that can come under testosterone replacement therapy, hormone replacement therapy. And it is very safe. And how do we know that? Because we have the data, the blood work to back it. Many people before us have taken steroids. They have taken low dose of the steroids and they're perfectly fine. I know guys personally. The age of the oldest guy I know is 86 and he is in phenomenal shape. And yes, he's on a very low dose of steroids. I wouldn't say he's on TRT, but I would say he's on a very low dose of steroids. Now, I'm not saying everybody's the same. I also know a guy who competes who's almost 70 years old, who's been taking steroids a very long time. I don't think he's on like a mild dose of steroids. I wouldn't say it's low. I wouldn't say it's high. But how dangerous are they? And why are they dangerous? Now, here's the reason why they're dangerous, and this is the reason why you always see deaths in bodybuilding. Well, there's two reasons. First of all, I'm going to talk about off-season. Then I'm going to talk about on-season. On-season, pre-contest. So off-season steroids, the reason why they're very dangerous is not the steroids in itself. Now, yes, they do play a factor, but I'll give you an example. Let's say we take a high dose of a gram of testosterone. Very dangerous. Now, what are the direct, immediate dangers of taking that testosterone? Yes, liver. Yes, kidney. Yes, you shut down your FSH, your LH, everything shut down. High red blood cell production, which can cause a very thick blood-like consistency, like a jam-like consistency for your blood, so your hematocrit goes through the roof. Generally, these are the main issues. Your cholesterol, your lipid profiles will be all over the place. Obviously, they are the bulk of it. If you were to look at blood work, you look at that, you think, whoa, what's going on here? There's a lot of shit going on because you're taking exogenous form of testosterone in the 1,000 milligram range. How long can you last on that? How safe do you think that is before your body says, whoa, hang on a minute, bro, I've had enough? Now, I would go out on a limb and guess that you could probably do that. And I'm not saying this is a safe thing to do. I'm saying it's a very dangerous thing to do long term, okay? But I think this is where it stacks up, and I'll explain. Let's say you're on that testosterone and your diet was unbelievable. You was doing a ketogenic diet. Let's say you're doing keto, okay? You wasn't adding much fat. You wasn't adding much muscle. Very small amounts of muscle. Your energy was decent. You looked good. You felt good. You wasn't massive. You wasn't overly fat in the off season. You'd probably live a lot longer than this second individual. And the second individual, as I'm talking about, is this guy. This guy would take exactly the same amount of dose, but his food intake would be higher. He'd be, now, of all those issues that I mentioned at first, additional to that, he'd be taking carbohydrates 5 to 6 times a day because he's having more and more food, because he needs to grow more and more muscle. He's in the off season. Now, this is then going to raise his blood pressure. Kidneys are working hard now because they've got 500 grams of protein to work through. Liver's working hard because it's got 500 grams of protein to work through, plus the 500 grams of carbohydrates and to regulate insulin. So these two things are now 10xing when it comes to working hard. And you know what happens if they're working too hard, too fast, too quick? They're going to burn out. So that is where the issue comes, and that is where steroids become dangerous. So I feel if you were to be in good shape, like 10% body fat, and you were to do that amount, I'm not saying it's safe. I'm saying it's safer than if you was doing an off season with all that food. A lot of these bodybuilders, just name one of them, Dallas McCarver, died because they were eating too much food. He actually choked on his food. That's the reality. And then he had a heart attack because of it and whatever. Anyway, point is, it's the food that is killing the guys. And we know this because even natural bodybuilders in an off season, when they blow up, they have all these issues, which is working the heart harder, When the heart works harder, it needs to volumize itself. It needs to grow bigger because it's a muscle just like every other muscle in the body. And if this is working or this is getting bigger, an enlarged heart is not good for the system. The arteries get bigger. The blood flow, as it's going through the chambers, it starts squirting blood out. It's not functioning correctly. And then you're running into a buffet of issues. On top of that, you've already got your blood pressure, you've got your cholesterol as an issue, your arteries are high risk of getting blocked, and the blood's very thick as well, so as your blood's going through everything, it's getting clogged on the way, which can cause you to have an heart attack. So, off-season steroids, high dose of steroids, you cannot run this for a very, very long time, which is why ultimately everybody comes to a halt and says, yo, just let you know, guys, on the internet, I'm gonna pack it in right now. I don't want to be a pro, or if I'm a pro, guys, thank you very much. I'm gonna move away from the stage because they did this too much, too long. Not everybody's Kevin Levrone, not everybody's Dexter Jackson, not everybody's Jay Cutler, who are monitoring their health around the clock all the time. I'm not saying these guys that I mentioned are healthy individuals by any means. I'm just saying they did it to an extreme, but walked away kind of okay. I'm not going to say they walked away scot-free because they definitely didn't. If you ask them that, they would tell you the same. Jay Cutler, there's no way Jay Cutler would sit here and say, yeah, you know what, winning those Mr. Olympias, yeah, they probably shaved a fuse off my life. Definitely, they'd admit he's a smart enough guy to admit it, and I'm pretty sure they would all say the same thing. Now, let's take the other extreme as an example about how dangerous steroids are, and that is cutting. If you are cutting for a show. Now, I'm from Pakistan, and I see bodybuilders over there in Pakistan. They have this crazy way of dieting where they'll only eat fruits at the last couple of weeks. They'll cut their water out 4 or 5 days. They'll dehydrate themselves. They'll be taking Lasix, liquid Lasix. Liquid. Like, I've seen guys taking diuretics, liquid form. So you can imagine what happens when you are dehydrated, especially at 5% body fat or 10% body fat. You're taking all the steroids. So not only have you got all the shit I mentioned at the start of the video going on in your body by taking all those steroids. Okay, you haven't got the issues of the high blood pressure and all the other stuff because you're not taking a lot of carbohydrates because you're on contest prep, but now you're running your body down to the ground, which is making your liver, kidney, heart work even harder, which is why for bodybuilders is a double-edged sword. You're running, or burning the candle at both ends is what I should say. You're running your body down this way and you're running your body down this way, which is why you will often hear many bodybuilders online who are IFBB Pro or even, normal guys who are trying to get the pro card say, I am in a maintenance phase or I am in a health phase. And you know what I'm talking about. A health phase basically means I'm just not going to take as much steroids as I normally do. And I'm not going to eat as much protein as I normally do because I do not want to die quick. Some guys are smart enough to know that. That's as simple as, if you ever see a bodybuilder out there saying, I'm just in a health phase or I'm making sure my health markers are good, all he's trying to do is make sure he doesn't do too much to F himself up as soon as. They're trying to prolong this thing as long as possible before it's like the body says, hang on a minute, bro. You gotta stop somewhere or I'm going to stop. So ultimately, some of them let their body stop. And if they're smart enough, they will stop or they will be forced to stop because then ultimately you have to come down to, a realization that is this really worth it? Now, if you're getting paid the big bucks like the Hadi Chupam, the Derek Lunsford, the Kai Green and the Phil Heaves, and I don't follow bodybuilding recently, but you get what I'm trying to say, those guys that are making the big bucks from it, then maybe it's in your contract to compete. Maybe it's in your contract from your supplement sponsors to compete. Maybe you need to be active on social media. You need to be in good shape. So all these things play into it. And ultimately it comes down to this. You're sacrificing your health for a little bit of money. Or a lot of money. Whatever. You got to suit yourself. I'm not putting a moral standpoint on anything. I'm saying, no, quit bodybuilding because no, I'm not saying that. If anything, I'm saying just know the dangers. And I'm sure many of those people know the dangers, but this is for the normal guys like myself who just want to know how dangerous is taking steroids. And it is very, very dangerous. Now, if you take it in a moderate dose, you monitor your health. Yes, I'm not saying it's safe to do steroids. I'm saying it's safer to do steroids. Remember that. Remember that, guys. Now, I have to, I'm put what would you call it? A conundrum in front of me every single day. Do I stay natural or do I take TRT? Now, if I stay natural, my life expectancy might not change in my mind from taking TRT. So I'm going to live as long as, well, pretty much the same. But I'm going to be a smaller individual, a softer individual. I'm not going to sleep properly. I'm going to be depressed. My libido is going to be shit. I'm not going to have that get up and go drive. And I just feel like I'm not going to be me. Because this has always been me, the way I'm speaking, the way I'm talking, the way I'm looking, the way I can jump out of bed every single morning, the way I can eat certain foods and not get fat. All this shit is me. It's all built up to be me. And when I'm off TRT, I don't feel like me. So what is the point of living if you don't feel like you? That's the way I see it. So I'm not one of those guys who's going to say, do this, do that. I ain't here to preach nothing. I've taken steroids, not in crazy high doses. Like I said in the past, my highest ever dose steroid was 400 milligrams of EQ, 500 milligrams of test enanthate, and 20 milligrams of D-Wall pre-workout with 25 milligrams of Proviron every single day. I did also stack 2 IUs of GH with that for a couple of months. Didn't like it. Didn't like the feeling of it. But guess what? I was very strong. I was squatting 260, deadlifting 300 kg, and benching, this is very weak, but 160. So I was doing it for that. I wanted to compete. I wanted to be the best before I looked at everybody else and thought, actually, there's a lot of guys a lot better than me. But I was still decent. I was still good. Went up there. I loved the sport that much. I wanted to be a bodybuilder. Stepped on stage, fulfilled my dream in that sense, and thought, actually, do you know what? This ain't for me. Have you ever done that? Where you thought you'd like something and then you go and do that thing and you think, actually, you know what? This ain't all that. This is actually not all that. So you feel a little bit like, oh, well, you know what? I'm not going to do this again. And that's how I was when I wanted to compete. So anyway, enough about myself. Point is, those are the dangers when it comes to taking steroids. You have to look at every single piece of blood work available to man. You have to look at every single health marker that you can check on yourself. Are you getting out of breath? Can you tie your shoelaces? Is your health, having a little bit of an issue? Are steroids really worth it? Are you getting paid? All these things. What about your wife? What about your kids? What about your family? How long do you want to live? What's your aim in life? What's your goal in life? There's a lot of these things that play a role in what you want to do. There's many sports out there like the NFL that people are banging heads, getting CTE, but they're getting paid millions of bucks. There are boxers out there that get brain damage, but they're getting paid millions of bucks. Not every single one of them. A very small percentage of boxers get to the top and actually become millionaires. I was reading a story about, what's the guy? The guy who fought David Haye. I forgot his name. It wasn't Billy Joe. See, this is what I mean. He wasn't even that popular. I forgot his name. It'll probably come to me later on. He was in the Get Jungle, Get Me Out of Here show, which I don't even watch. But you get what I'm trying to say. And he said, I didn't really make any money until the last 2 fights of my career. Right before that last fight of my career, I was broke. I was broke as a joke. If I didn't have that fight, I'd have been living out on the streets. This is a world champion, heavyweight boxer. So just to go to show, there's many sports out there that really take a toll on your body. Now, I'm not saying there's many sports out there safe. I mean, darts. I would love to play darts. You could play darts at the age of 70. You could play golf till God knows how long it is. It's a low-impact sport. I mean, what's the worst? I mean, has Tiger Woods got any hip replacements or shoulder replacements? I don't know. Do boxers need do golfers need hip replacements and shit like that? I don't think so. Or I don't know. But I see Tiger Woods, it seems really fine. So I would say pick a sport that's low impact. But anyway, the choice is always yours, but know the dangers. Hopefully this gave you some value. Comment down below, like, and please subscribe.